Hey friends, welcome back. Today we're going to do Pulp Heroes, Green Lantern Annual issue number 6 by DC Comics. So what is Pulp Heroes? Well, I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up just a second ago. So it seems that DC did, somewhere in the 90s, an annual event that is a tribute to certain magazines from the 1930s. Some are crime noir, some are the western, some are macabre horror, and in this case, adventure comics with, inspired by Edgar Rice Burroughs, that guy that made Warlord of Mars, among other things. This is a mini comic, it's 70 pages, so probably this book is gonna get, it's a little bit long, this review. It's written by Ron Marz, art by Jeff Johnson and John Lowe, and the painted cover here is Gary Gianni. So without further ado, stick around. And if you like my content, consider subscribing to my channel and like this video, please. And leave a comment. Would appreciate it. Let's dive right in. This says it all. It's great. Anyway, so we see here this beautiful picture. And there's some guy here says, sold. Now, I thought to myself, what is this? Well, it seems that it's some kind of an auction. And this is a painting from a creator called Sebastian Beal, if I'm saying that correctly. And we see here Kai Rayner, who was Green Lantern at the time. He's buying the painting because he's also an artist for himself. And he just bought the painting because he thought it would look cool in his living room. And remember Cole by Kevin Sorbo? I don't. And we see here Jade. At that time, he had a relationship with her and was living together. And she said, or he says to her, hey, do you like it? And she says, well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And he says, well, you don't like it. They have a talk, and she says, well, maybe I need to get used to it, because he was not thinking that he actually would buy something like this, but something totally different. So she is getting, a drink for them both or something. And then Kyle is staring at the painting, and he says, man, it looks so cool. This painting is just so luminous. The quality of light, the depth, it's like I'm looking at something real. And then he reaches towards the painting, and then he is in the painting. Not sure how. And so this creature here is, shaken, and that he's standing in front of him, and instantly he falls down, but also this creature and this woman and all these guards here falling down into the lava. And Cal reacts immediately. He says, stay cool, I'll get you out of there. So he changes into, well, not Green Lantern. He says, what the hell is this? And so one of the guards, because that's what they are, is, holding this woman up, and he says, no, just save yourself. And then Cal reacts, but what he thinks, like a crane or some other contraption because he's a painter, an artist, so he uses his Green Lantern imagination in a very creative way, if you can say. But it seems that the ring has more like a mind of its own, so it creates a rope, and therefore he saves the princess. And looks cool. The art of Art Jeff Johnson, I like it, and it's clearly inspired by Warlord of Mars, And he also made a reference in this comic here, and it says, we are not out of the wood yet. And this woman says, what are you planning? I have no idea, he says, because later we discovered that the ring creates only things that is relevant in this world. So, for instance, you cannot, make a plane if you are in a fantasy environment like this one, where there is no technology. It creates, like swords, axes, ropes, stuff like that, or even something like from the Warlord of Mars. Great stuff, and he also looks a little bit ridiculous with this outfit, with this loincloth. But I like that. It's funny. So he saves also the other ones, and it seems that you know, Cal says, "Hey, I'm glad you are okay." And this woman thanks him, and he says, "You appear from nowhere," she says. "Where did you come from, and how you do those things you do?" He says, "Well, believe me, it doesn't usually work like this. I'm sorry, I'm still distracted or something. I'm Green Lantern, but under the circumstances, you can call me Cal." And this woman says, "I am the royal daughter, Saria Amentes, of the royal court, Jeff." He says, "Well, are you a princess for real?" And she says, "Yes, my father ruled Jeff. There was a kingdom to where there was a kingdom to be ruled before the mountain bled fire. Our people are scattered now or dead." Okay, again, looks cool. Cool looking backgrounds, love it. Skipping a few pages, of course. And she introduced Cal to these, subjects. They can't talk, they are the silent type. They are bred for battle and for, loyalty. And but Cal thinks that he's having a delusion. He doesn't think this is all a joke and that is not real. And she says, "What are you talking about?" But then she says, "This doesn't feel real to you, Green Lantern Cal. My touch isn't real." "Well, yeah, I guess. I guess the painting could have been some sort of gateway or something, maybe. Look around. Of course, Nagida is real. Nagida is what it is." She says that she is on a journey, on a quest to a powerful sorcerer that is, can heal the world, because it seems that the world is now suffering from natural or unnatural disasters like, an exploding volcano or winds and tornadoes. The world is dying or something like that. And the princess here says, "Before my father's kingdom was scattered to the winds, he guided me to undertake a quest," she says. "I'm to seek out the god mage who ruled this Majida from his palace at the world's end and petition him to spare the world. I will be a sacrifice if that is what he demands. But the world must be saved. Most of my party has been lost. Now you can aid me in my journey," she says. Cal hesitates a little bit, but eventually he says, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And because he can somehow not know where he needs to go because he cannot go back. So he thinks that maybe the god mage can send him back. Well, that's cool. And this comic has also been, there's chapters in it, like 4 or 5, I believe. So they're looking at a map, skipping a few pages, and Cal is being attacked by a tree monster. But he has also need to be careful because he has not have infinity ring energy or lantern energy or green energy or whatever you're going to call it. And so he is not used to all these what's happening surrounding here. So the princess, tells him that he needs to be careful and that, he because it's not New York, and he tells about New York and that, he comes from a different place that has not all these weird things around him. So they reach the sea level. And Carl says, "Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to do that." I have a word blockage. I have an error in my head. He says, "What we are going to do now?" Well, she says, "We go into the sea." And I thought to myself, wait, what? She says, "We go beneath it. This is a breathing sea," she says. "Take the water into your body just as you would air." "Oh, come on, Saria, really? You're telling me I can breathe the water like in the abyss?" That's the movie reference, by the way. She says, "I don't know what it is, but just follow me." So he goes, and he's a little bit, as you can see. So he breathes on the water. He sees all the beauty of the sea. And then they reach some kind of underwater city. And he's been greeted by underwater people with water dragons. So he thinks that they are attacking him. But then the guards pull him away from these people because it seems that they are friendly and that they are some kind of a, welcome committee or committee. That's how you say it. She says, the princess, we humble ourselves before the sea monarch, Empress Fascise. And I love the fact, I mean, this is really a fantasy setting, borrowed from the Edgar Rice, like Conan, like Warlord of Mars. And then we have a main guy, a guy from the real world, quote unquote, throwing into it, and he has no clue what's going on, how these people are talking so weird and what he's doing. He's literally a fish out of water, and he's cracking jokes. And she says that the amphibies are our allies. They were expecting us. And he says, well, are you going to explain this when exactly? And he looks to this guy and says, hey, dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I tried to skew you. So it seems that the Empress are willing to help them, and that the wild is in danger. He or she gives him the party, their strongest warrior. And so she says, Stresha will accompany you. Let me guess. I am Stresha. That figures. So Stresha is going with the party, saving the world. And Kyle and Stresha are mostly not on the same page. There's some tension between them. And then we have some things in here that we don't see in modern comics anymore, because people are sensitive nowadays. And Kyle says, she says, Kyle, you're naked, and I have offended you, haven't I? You're from a different world. I'm probably ugly to you. Nope, ugly didn't cross my mind, not even close. He says that, woman on his world doesn't, being publicly naked, and that only people do that when they're in love with each other. That's not entirely true, Kyle. I mean, there's a lot of, nudists, and people like to flaunt themselves to the public. I'm not saying that's good, but it happens. It happens. So she says that she is now changing because the world is colder, and he asked Kyle to, changing his gear, and that's what he do. He looks like I don't know, Robin Hood now. And so she says, okay, let's get up to these trees because, they have to go up now. And but he's falling, and he falls onto these flying fish here. And he takes the princess with him, and he says, hey, let's go, and the other will follow us. So they're going up and up and up, like Rumpelstiltskin, I guess. Is it Rumpelstiltskin with the beans and the big tree in there? That's probably another fairy tale. And then she sees this floating fortress, but she also sees this. And she says, something is wrong. My world is disappearing. And I wonder, what could this be? What is this? Interesting. I thought this was maybe a natural phenomenon in this world, but it isn't. It seems that the world is being erased somehow. And but then the time flows by in chapter 3 here, and it feels like months. I like that. I like that they are not immediately continuing, but there is a time difference now. Kyle is now more changing. It's getting harder. He feels that the energy in his power ring is disappearing. Also, he and the underwater guy is getting closer. They are becoming friends, especially when he saved him from a disaster like a whirlpool. That's great. And then also, it seems that the princess, she can take care of herself. She's actually a strong female character, not arrogant, but loving and caring, but can also take care of herself. I like that. And they also growing a little bit closer. The strange thing is, but that's probably me, is that he has now longer hair. He has a beard, and he has, his hair in a ponytail, but his hair in front stays the same. That's not how growing hair works, by the way. But, okay, I don't mind. So we see this flowing fortress, and we see more of this stuff here up, and they're climbing this chains, I guess. And she says, well, there's nobody here, no guards, no people, nobody to defend this fortress. And Kyle says, maybe he likes his privacy. No, she says, Can you sense it? Something feels wrong. And then Cal says, this place seems dead. And then the nothingness comes, and it is already here. And then the princess says, how can this happen, even here? And this, I call it nothingness. And now that I say it, it reminds me of the movie Never Ending Story. I believe there was a movie from 1982, but I could be wrong. But I have fond memories of that movie. It's beautiful, crafted, beautiful adventure movie. If you haven't seen that, it's perfect for young and old. Still to this day, I love that movie. It's a great, and it's also have some tragic, how do you say, eye-tearing, that you're gonna cry, scenes in there. Great stuff. And so they're going over, and she says, well, don't go barge in there. The wizard is in there. You can't go in. And she says, I don't have time because, well, the nothingness, that's how I call it. And they are bowing before the sorcerer god. But then Cal says, I don't believe it. It's just a guy that sleeps. He said, he doesn't look at God to me. And she says, no, don't go to him. Don't panic. Sorry, it's okay. But you mustn't approach a god mage. Join us in prayer to him. But then Kyle goes there anyway, skipping a few pages. And he wakes them up. And this guy says, well, where am I? What's going on? He says, you are not like the others. You're real. You're from out there. Someone came. He said, easy, man. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I do know that these people think you're some kind of a god, and their entire world is falling apart real fast. So this god mage, who is just a normal guy, explains the story, and he says, we are here to fix it. He says, well, it's too late. I say, why? I'm like you. I'm from the real world. He said, wait a minute. You are Sebastian Biel. That's the painter, from the painting that Cal is in it now. And he says, I am surprised you even know my name. I created Najida. I became a painter because my imagination was terribly vivid, but I never felt truly fulfilled, he says. Coming back to that a little bit later, if I keep remembering this part. There's a fly in here. Go away. Until I imagined Nadia, I painted it, and somehow it became a place I could reach. Like Alice through the looking glass. There was the kind of world I dreamed of as a boy. I can relate to that. Full of the fantastic. This is what I wanted to give our mundane world through my work. I put my soul in my art, but no one wanted it. So I came here and kept this place whole all these years. Now I don't know. Maybe I'm too old, too tired. I'm dimming, he says, fading. That is interesting that he says that. Coming back to that also a little bit later. And so is my world. I'm coming to an end. Everything is fading. I remember reaching out for someone with imagination powerful enough to save Najida. And you were drawn here. Who are you? He says, I'm Kyle Rayner. I'm an artist and something else too. What do I do to help? Now? Nothing, he says. It's past the point, you see? And then the nothing is here and everybody is disappearing. The princess isn't panicking. And she says, it can't end like this. Help, please. Isn't there something you can do? I don't know how. The expression of his face is a little bit weird because he looks angry instead of concerned. And then, your ring can save us. And then she is gone. And then everything else is gone. And Kyle is bewildered. He says, there is nothing left. Maybe those people weren't real, he says, in the strictest sense of the word, but I care about them. Biel, come on, man, we have to do something. No, it's too late. But then, so he gives up, but Kyle doesn't. But Kyle is conflicted because he wants to use the ring, but if he is going to use the ring, there is no power anymore and he can't go back. But he decides to do the right thing. So he starts to think, he lets his imagination go wild, and he's going to create. There is something happening. But then Biel jumps in and he says, let me help. Kyle says, but I thought you were. So did I. But you've given me inspiration, a starting place. Together, we can do this. So they are joining forces and they talk about letting their imaginations go. She says, as you said, you're an artist, you create, otherwise you would never been drawn here. What we're doing is different only in scale. But he says, I'm just a visitor here. We're not rebuilding it, we're creating all over again, and it will take both of us. The plains of Jeff must be conceived, the waters of the breathing sea. But then Kyle says, all right, if we are creating it all over again, why just the sea? Why not an entire ocean? Yeah, why not indeed? Why not build a great city from the ruins of Mapur? Set the ocean of clouds of fire, or a race of glass people, mermaids, genius roses, and so on and so on and so on. So they are, I love that they are not only putting, their effort in it, but also running their, throwing everything from their imagination into this world instead of, what in a lot of superhero comics, pulling hands and then using willpower or the power of friendship, if you will, that always make me laugh because it's so ridiculous. But they are actually creating. And that's a word that I, love because in my opinion, nowadays with comics, people don't create much anymore. They are just stealing, copying, changing everything that I love. That's why I checked out in comics a long time ago, but I came back because of this, because of people having the same passion that I have with comics, and that reinvigorated my passion for comics. That's the reason why I'm buying so many comics. I love comics again. I can now actually say that I'm a comic nerd, and I can be saying that proudly, and I don't care what other people think. I love comics. It's so important piece of my life that I cannot imagine having a life without comics because of this imagination, creating. And I'm surrounding myself with people with the same thoughts, with the same taste, mostly, and with the same vivid imagination because of their passion. And it's infecting me too. Great, it's just great stuff. So Kyle and Baal creating everything again, and everything is back and more. And the princess is alive, and she says, you brought us back from the void. Your magic preserved us. I owe you my life again. The world owes you. Kyle says that his power is now drained, and he cannot go back, and he feels down. He says, but Baal says, maybe I can help you with that. And Baal is also changed. He is now really the god mage. And he says, I'm revitalized. The world is repaired and its strength is mine. I have the power to send you back if that's what you want. But the princess wants to keep him here because clearly she loves him. Would you leave? I don't know, says Kyle. I really don't belong here. This is my world. I have responsibilities waiting for me. I left so much behind. But I also leaving behind. But I also be leaving behind something here, wouldn't I? And then he, says that he needs to go. Saria understands this. He says, someday maybe I will come back to you. Well, that's not what it says, but that's what I'm saying. There will be always a place for you, Kyle, always. And then they kiss. I love that. Really passionate. I felt that. That's great. And then Kyle says to Baal, what about you, Sebastian? Everything you left behind here changed probably even more. Everything you have left behind has changed probably even more than you can imagine and desire. Any desire to return for yourself? But Baal says, no, your world calls you, my world and my children call for me. Thank you for giving me the spark, Kyle. This is where I belong. All right, I'm ready whenever you are. And he closes his eyes. And then Kyle is back in his apartment. And Jade is here. He said, back from where? I just went into the kitchen for a second. He says, no beard. And then he says, well, my ring, it is empty. Hey there, sports. Mind telling me what in the world you're talking about? I'm not sure I can explain. But then she looks at the painting, and the painting changed. And we see this beautiful looking, happy people in this world. And she says, it's different. The painting is totally different. Seriously, I I think maybe you better explain. Okay, but believe me, I'm not just making this up. And that's the end of this book. It's great. It's great. It's so cool. Man, I didn't know that was so cool. I mean, this actually is more like a fantasy book with a Green Lantern in it instead of a Green Lantern book. And I enjoyed this so much. Although there's not really an evil villain in here, I like the journey from the beginning to the end. And that is, there is a happy end. And the story was so engaging for me. I was sucked up in this world so much that I really don't mind there is not really a bad guy. The journey itself is enough for me. What a great fucking book. I need more of this. Guys, that's the end of the video. 25 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.